You're lying on a reed mat. It's 2500 BC, somewhere in Mesopotamia, between the Tigris and the Euphrates. There's no candlelight dinner. There's no rom-com soundtrack. There's just two people, a clay tablet nearby, and a scribe about to write down something surprisingly intimate. This is the story of how humans started kissing. And here's the thing nobody tells you. Kissing might not be human nature at all. It might be something we invented. You probably think kissing is universal. Every culture, every era, humans locking lips since the dawn of time. That assumption is wrong. In 2015, anthropologist William Jankowiak studied 168 cultures from a major anthropological database. He checked how many showed evidence of romantic sexual kissing. Less than half. Only 46%. So if it isn't hardwired into every culture, where did it come from? Now, here's where it gets interesting. Chimpanzees and bonobos, our closest living relatives, use mouth-to-mouth contact regularly. Bonobos use it as reassurance, as a way to defuse tension after conflict. Primatologist Frans de Waal has documented this extensively. It's not romantic, it's social glue. Picture it. Two bonobos scuffle over food. 10 minutes later, they're pressing mouths together like nothing happened. No apology, just contact, and apparently everything's fine. That tells you something. The mechanics of mouth-to-mouth contact predate humans entirely. What we call a kiss might just be an old primate behavior, later loaded with new meaning. There's another theory, and it involves something you weren't expecting. Food. Before baby formula, before blenders, mothers across early human history chewed food and passed it mouth to mouth into their infant's mouth. This is called pre-mastication. Close contact, a release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone, in both mother and child. Some researchers argue this feeding behavior may have built the brain circuitry for closeness and trust, long before anyone used it romantically. Uncomfortable to think about? A little. Biologically plausible? Also yes.
Now let's talk about the written record. In 2023, researchers Troels Pank Arbel and Sophie Lund Rasmussen published a study in the journal Science examining Mesopotamian tablets dating back 4,500 years to roughly 2500 BC. One tablet described a married woman being warned against kissing another man. Not scandal, regulation. Rules exist for behaviors people are already doing, so kissing wasn't new in Mesopotamia. It was already old enough to be legislated. There's a reason this behavior may have taken hold so strongly, and it comes down to smell. Humans can unconsciously detect genetic compatibility through genes called the MHC. In a well-known 1990 study, women were given t-shirts worn by different men for 2 nights. Unwashed, no cologne, no context. They consistently rated the scent of men with different MHC profiles as more pleasant, an unconscious signal linked to stronger immune systems in potential offspring. Getting close enough to smell someone properly requires the kind of proximity a kiss provides. You may not be kissing someone because it just feels nice. That might be the cover story.
Egyptian love poetry from around 1300 BC, found in papyri from the New Kingdom period, describes lovers overwhelmed by longing, comparing separation to sickness and reunion to medicine. Whether every passage describes a literal kiss or a breath-sharing gesture is debated, but the emotional framework is unmistakable. By the time you reach classical Rome, the culture had fully caught up. Romans had 3 separate words for 3 separate kinds of kissing. Osculum, a kiss on the cheek. Basium, on the lips. Savium, reserved for lovers. That's not a culture discovering kissing. That's a culture that had been kissing long enough to need grammar for it. And it wasn't just personal. It was political. Kissing sealed loyalty oaths in medieval Europe. Judas famously betrayed Jesus with a kiss, a detail that only lands because a kiss, at the time, was already a recognized symbol of trust.
But the story isn't a straight line toward acceptance. In 1348, as the Black Death swept Europe, several regions restricted public kissing entirely. Physicians, without any concept of germ theory, still suspected mouth contact was spreading the disease. A gesture that had been socially mandatory for centuries quietly disappeared in a single generation. Meanwhile, in feudal Japan, romantic kissing was largely absent from courtship until Western influence increased. Certain indigenous communities in the Americas used nose-touching or breath-sharing instead, and some early European explorers even recorded those communities reacting to European-style kissing with visible discomfort. Two groups of humans, two completely different assumptions about what counts as intimate.
Which brings you to the uncomfortable modern turn. Hollywood didn't invent the kiss, but it standardized it. Music swells, fade to black. Dating apps took it further, timing the first kiss like a milestone on a checklist. Somewhere along the way, a gesture Mesopotamians were writing legal warnings about became a punchline in a trailer. Your brain, meanwhile, is still running the old software. Kissing releases oxytocin, the same bonding hormone from infant attachment. It triggers dopamine and can lower cortisol, your stress hormone. Researcher Cheryl Kirschenbaum has noted a single kiss activates more neurological and hormonal responses than most human behaviors do. Your brain isn't inventing a new response. It's reusing ancient circuitry, running quietly underneath something that just feels nice. That's not shallow. That's just old. So when did ancient humans start kissing? Nobody knows exactly. The mechanism is at least as old as your primate ancestors. The wiring may trace to infant feeding. The written record confirms it was common enough by 2500 BC to need legal boundaries. And it was never universal, spreading unevenly through contact and empire rather than emerging everywhere at once. A bonobo, pressing its lips to another's to ease tension after a scuffle over food. A mother chewing food for her child 10,000 years before agriculture. A Mesopotamian scribe writing a warning about a married woman's kiss 4,500 years ago. A Roman assigning a precise word to a precise kind of intimacy. And somewhere tonight, someone leaning in without thinking about any of this at all. You're not performing a modern romantic gesture. You're running a behavior with primate origins, infant bonding neurology, and Bronze Age legal precedent, compressed into 2 seconds you probably don't think twice about. Next time it happens, notice it.